We start our review of each tissue type with epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue cover body surfaces or line internal cavities. They can be divided into two forms: covering and lining epithelium and glandular epithelium. Covering epithelium forms the outer layer of the skin, lines open cavities, and covers walls of organs of the ventral cavity. Glandular epithelium forms glands of the body. Epithelial tissue function in protection, absorption, filtration, excretion, secretion, and sensory perception. Epithelial tissue have 5 distinguishing characteristics. Number 1 is polarity. Number 2 is specialized contacts. Number 3, they are supported by connective tissue. Number 4, they are avascular but highly innervated. And finally, they have a high regenerative capacity. We will review each characteristic over the next slides. The first characteristic is polarity. All epithelial tissues have 2 surfaces that differ in structure and function. These are the apical surface and the basal surface. The apical surface is not attached to surrounding tissue and is exposed to either the outside of the body or the cavity of an internal organ. Most apical surfaces are smooth, but some have specialized finger-like projections called microvilli. The basal surface is attached to the underlying connective tissue. The basal surface attaches to the basal lamina, an adhesive sheet that holds basal surfaces of epithelial cells to underlying cells. Epithelial cells are said to exhibit apical basal polarity. The next characteristic is specialized contacts. Except for glandular epithelium, epithelial cells fit closely together to form continuous sheets. The sides of adjacent cells are tied together by tight junctions and desmosomes. Recall from chapter 3 that tight junctions prevent substances from leaking through spaces between cells, while desmosomes keep cells from pulling apart. Epithelial tissue is supported by connective tissue. All epithelial sheets rest upon and are supported by connective tissue. Between the epithelia and connective tissue is a basement membrane. The basement membrane is made up of 2 layers, a basal lamina and a reticular lamina. The basement membrane reinforces the epithelial sheet, helps it resist stretching and tearing, and defines the epithelial boundary. Epithelial tissue is avascular but innervated. Avascular means it contains no blood vessels. Epithelial cells are nourished by substances diffusing from blood vessels in the underlying connective tissue. Although avascular, epithelial tissue is supplied by nerve fibers. Epithelial tissue has high regenerative capacity. Some are exposed to friction and their surface cells rub off. Others are damaged by hostile substances in the environment. When their apical basal polarity and lateral contacts are destroyed, epithelial tissue begin to reproduce themselves rapidly. Adequate nutrition is required for epithelial cells to replace lost cells by cell division. How are epithelial tissues classified? All epithelial tissues have 2 names. The first name indicates the number of cell layers and can be divided into simple or stratified epithelia. Simple epithelia consists of a single cell layer. Stratified epithelia consists of 2 or more cell layers. The second name indicates shape of cells. Shapes could be squamous, which means flattened and scale-like, cuboidal, which means box-like or cube-shaped, and columnar, which are tall or column-like cells. This figure shows classification based on the number of cell layers in an epithelium. In this classification, there are two types of epithelia: simple and stratified. A simple epithelium consists of one cell layer. A stratified epithelium consists of two or more cell layers stacked on each other. Regardless of how many cell layers an epithelium contains, it has two surfaces: an apical surface and a basal surface. This figure shows classification of epithelial tissue based on the shape of the cells. In this classification system, there are three types of epithelia: squamous, cuboidal, and columnar epithelia. Note that the shape of the cells influences the shape of the nucleus. In squamous epithelium, cells are flattened and scale-like, and the cell's nuclei are also flattened. In cuboidal epithelium, cells resemble cubes, approximately as tall as they are wide. The nuclei of cuboidal epithelial cells are spherical. In columnar epithelium, cells are tall and relatively thin. In other words, they are shaped like columns. The nuclei of columnar epithelial cells are also tall and thin, and usually located closer to the basal surface of the cell. Now, let's start our review of different types of epithelial tissue. We start with simple squamous epithelium. A simple squamous epithelium is the simplest of the epithelia. It has a single layer of flattened cells with disc-shaped central nuclei and sparse cytoplasm. In terms of function, they allow materials to pass by diffusion and filtration in sites where protection is not important. They also secrete lubricating substances in linings of ventral body cavities. They can be found in the kidney glomeruli, air sacs of the alveoli of the lungs, linings of the heart, blood vessels, and lymphatic vessels, as well as the serous membranes. The image here shows a simple squamous epithelium forming part of the alveolar walls of the lungs. The next is simple cuboidal epithelium. Simple cuboidal epithelium has a single layer of cube-like cells with large spherical central nuclei. They are involved in secretion and absorption. Simple cuboidal epithelium can be found in the kidney tubules, ducts, and secretory portion of small glands. Next is simple columnar epithelium. Simple columnar epithelium has a single layer of tall cells with round to oval nuclei. Some of the cells have microvilli, while some have cilia. Other layers may contain mucus-secreting unicellular glands called goblet cells. They are involved in absorption and secretion of mucus, enzymes, and other substances. Ciliated columnar epithelial cells move mucus or reproductive cells by ciliary action. In terms of location, non-ciliated columnar epithelium lines most of the digestive tract, from the stomach to the rectum. Non-ciliated columnar epithelium also lines the gallbladder and excretory ducts of some glands. Ciliated columnar epithelium lines the small bronchi, uterine tubes, and some regions of the uterus. Next, we review pseudostratified columnar epithelium. In pseudostratified columnar epithelium, cells vary in height and appear to be multi-layered and stratified. However, the tissue is in fact a single-layered simple epithelium. Pseudo means false, so the tissue appears stratified, although it is not. Some of the cells do not reach the free surface, and the nuclei are seen at different levels. Pseudostratified epithelium may contain cilia and mucus-secreting cells. It is involved in secretion of substances, particularly mucus and movement of mucus by ciliary action. It is located mostly in the upper respiratory tract, ducts of large glands, and tubules in the testes. Next is stratified squamous epithelium. As already mentioned, stratified epithelial tissues have 2 or more layers of cells. Stratified squamous epithelium is composed of several cell layers. The basal cells are cuboidal or columnar and are metabolically active, while surface cells are flattened and squamous. Stratified squamous epithelium can be keratinized or non-keratinized. In the keratinized type, the surface cells are full of keratin and are dead, while basal cells divide actively by mitosis and produce cells of the more superficial layers. Keratinized stratified squamous epithelium is found in the skin and functions to protect underlying tissues in areas subject to abrasion. Non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium is found in moist areas like the esophagus, mouth, and vagina. The next is transitional epithelium. This type of epithelium resembles both stratified squamous and stratified cuboidal epithelium. The basal cells are cuboidal or columnar, while surface cells appear dome-shaped or squamous. Transitional epithelium is found in the bladder, ureter, and urethra. The epithelial cells can change their shape when stretched, allowing for increased urine flow. In the case of the bladder, stretching allows for more space for urine storage.